Oh, I've got to show you something, and I'm just gonna look. Please don't be pissed off when I show you this, okay? All right? You ready? All right. Look at this. Now look back at me. I'm gonna try my best to put a positive spin on this because I do think there is a lesson to be learned. But by golly, this reminds me of a conversation I had with my accountant a few months ago. And he was telling me about how, in the accountancy sphere, the industry, that if the government comes along for like a project, they almost treat the government like they have like a blank check. And so prices just go mad. And he was telling me about HS2 and how much consultants were charging to consult on the HS2 project. I mean, this was in the tens of £1 million a month. It's the reason why private equity bought up a lot of those consultancy firms, and there was just money awash in that area. And it just makes you think, how did we get here? I mean, look, no wonder HS2 was cut down if that's the type of money that were being billed every single month by consultants. We have a consultancy culture which is absolutely bonkers. And we're seeing this across all parts of the government: NHS, infrastructure projects, now local authorities. Now, we're going to jump into the article, and I do have some words that I think are going to be important because this ties directly to your pocket. This ties directly to your personal finances. And I think I have a few things that are worthwhile you considering. But before I jump into all of the details on this, if you're finding me for the first time, you haven't subscribed to the channel, but you get value from this video, you pick up something you think is entertaining, educational, whatever it might be, consider subscribing and hit that notification bell so you get notified when I do another video like this. These are conversations that we absolutely need to have. So let's just jump straight into this article. Now, first and foremost, council to spend up to £20 million for advice on how to save money. That statement right there sounds counterintuitive. It sounds ironic. I'm not going to lie. Why do you have to spend money to save money? Now, as part of my business, I do coaching with people, individuals. And sometimes you do have to spend money to save money. I'll give you an example. I worked with someone a few months back who was really struggling with credit card debt. They had a lot of credit card debt. I mean, I'm talking in the tens of thousands of pounds of credit card debt. It was really, really stressful. Monthly payments were over £1,000 per month. So we had a coaching call, and my job in the coaching call was to basically help her make sense of what are the options here. We had to look at balance transfer options. She couldn't do that because of the balances that are on the credit cards. She couldn't get an option to transfer the full balance over to give her some reprieve. We looked to consolidate it onto a personal loan. That didn't really work again because of the sums. So we also looked at interest rates, and we looked at possibly putting it onto her mortgage, which is what she ended up doing. Now, mortgage can be very cost effective in that instance because the interest rate is lower, albeit if you have a longer term on a mortgage, you're paying more interest over the course of that term. But for her, her biggest priority was, I need to reduce my monthly outgoings because this is killing me. It's absolutely killing me. And so the mortgage made sense. So once we had the consultation, we went through the potential options and looked at some providers. She went away, approached her provider because we had her matched with Clear Score and her credit score. We saved her more than £400 a month. I think it was £458 a month that we saved her, which is a huge, huge financial burden being lifted off our shoulders. Because not only have you saved over £5,000 per month in outgoings at that point, you've also taken away that financial stress and that heaviness she felt on her shoulders because she was paying over £1,000 a month for credit card debt. So in that instance, paying me £240 for a 90-minute session to go through all of the options for you and with you makes sense because you've saved money. And so this statement, yes, it sounds counterintuitive, it sounds ironic, but actually it can work in some instances. Now, what I'm interested to know is, how do we get to these numbers? And there is a justification around how they come to their fee in this article. But let's start here. Liberal Democrat run Somerset Council, which is on course to hit a £190 million budget shortfall by 2029, has responded to its financial emergency by hiring Newton Consultancy. Now, Newton Consultancy, I don't know who they are. But when I read this yesterday, I would have thought it was going to be a KPMG or PwC that would be doing the work. I don't know who Newton Consultancy are. I mean, obviously they must be a big firm, but the immediate question was, if KPMG or PwC were to do this work, how much would it cost? Because I'm sure Consulting would be less than those two, right? Because they're part of the big five. But look, if there's a positive here, I think there is a positive in the fact that they are trying to get ahead of a potential budget deficit. That's the only positive. But the firm's service comes with an eye-watering price tag, potentially running up to £20 million. It comes after the local authority raised council tax by 7.5% in April, more than the national 5% cap. Now, listen, look at me for a second. I want to know, if you're watching this video and you live in Somerset and that is your local authority, I would love for you to share how you feel reading this article with me. They've increased council tax by 7.5%, yet they're about to go and sign off on a consultancy fee of up to £20 million to help them avoid a budget deficit in 2029. How do you feel about that? Because that, for me, is, well, it makes sense to be proactive, but to have residents pay for the consulting. I mean, look, I know this how it works, but it just doesn't sit right with me. Does it sit right with you? Please let us know in the comment section down below. Now, the article goes on to say here, and this is comment by a Labour run. They give an example of Southampton City Council. It says here, Labour run Southampton City Council pay consultants from Newton Consulting. So obviously they do a lot of work with local authorities. £9 million to help with savings proposals, despite being set to receive almost £122 million in support from the government amid rising debt. The local authority raised council tax by the maximum 4.99% in April. It feels so. My question here is, okay, look, in this scenario, okay, you're paying a consultancy of £9 million to help with savings proposals, but you're going to get 122 million, circa, round it up, from the government in support, but you still go and increase council tax by 4.99%. Now, the question is, was that absolutely necessary? I don't know the answer to that. It could be that it was absolutely necessary, but what we're finding is that more and more local authorities are in this hole right now. I mean, look at this list. Birmingham is set to receive £1.26 billion from the government this year. Now, Birmingham, as you probably recall, is bankrupt. I have friends who live in Birmingham because I didn't live too far from Birmingham in the UK. I lived in Shropshire, which is 45 minutes to Birmingham, right? I have friends who live in Birmingham. They've had their council tax go up, but they have worse services. I think at one point, their rubbish collection was once every 2 weeks. Increase in council tax payments, prices, rates, but less services. Make it make sense. And when you look at this list, Birmingham is the largest, obviously, but look at the gap. There's almost £1 billion. It's over £1 billion gap between Birmingham and Bradford, which is the second one that actually needs assistance. I mean, Section 114, I think, is the bankruptcy. Even Croydon, that is also bankrupt, only needs 47.4 million quid. Now, I don't know what happened with the guys in Birmingham, whether there was anyone who lost their job or someone held accountable, but this conversation of waste, mismanagement, inefficiencies, it runs across most of the councils. And it could be that, they're not being funded enough, but we need to address this because we're seeing this across different parts of the government. And it can't be by coincidence that this is a theme as we run through the government. Now, I'm just going to come down here because Newton were asked to respond as to why they charge so much. And they said, in response to requests for comment about fees, Newton said it had a track record of improving resident outcomes and actually delivering the savings they identify for local authorities. But here's what a Tory councillor in Somerset said. I think it's ridiculous. Yes, it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can't just magic £20 million out of the air. It's got to come from somewhere. I will disagree with that because they can magic it out of the air. They do magic it out of the air. And guess where that magical pot comes from? You, your pocket. Because the simple solution is increase council tax. We'll get the residents to pay for this thing. Goes on to say here, same guy says, if you bring in consultants, they will say, what do you want to know? They'll go away for 6 months, charge you 20 million, and then tell you exactly what you wanted to hear. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, he said. Taxes are going to have to go up. And I think that right there is one of the main things I really want you to think about here. Taxes are going to have to go up. Now, it also says here, which is comment from a Tory councillor and leader of the Southampton Conservatives, said, there is a culture of thinking we can spend, of thinking it comes out of a magic pot, which it does, your pocket. I think many of the Labour councillors do not feel that it is public money and they have to spend it to the best of their ability. If there is a budget, they feel it is there to be spent. Now, I think that's true whether you're Labour, Tory, Lib Dem, Green, whatever. I think that mentality has existed for a long time in the government, and that's not just it's not conducive. It's the reason why we're in the mess with inefficiencies as it currently is. It says here about Birmingham City. Birmingham City has paid Newton 6.3 million since 2023 for its work on adult social care and the authority's Children and Families Directorate. The council has also brought in KPMG and PwC to find budget savings. Alongside this, council tax rose by 7.5% in April amid uproar over declining services. I mean, no surprise there. And if you're from Birmingham, please let me know what you think of this, because I'm sure you've had to deal with this 7.5%, increase in council tax this year. But have services got any better? I bet the answer to that is a resounding no. And it just goes on to kind of like say here that a lot of the money that is spent on consultants ends up producing plans for savings in areas that the opposition has already told them to do. So it's almost like, you're being told by the opposite end, the opposition, that look, we really do think that, you need to cut here, here, and here, because this is where we've identified some efficiency to be. And they're just like, nah, don't want to know. We're going to bring in a consultant who's going to charge us 20 million quid. And then the consultants tell you exactly the same thing. It questions whether we need more dialogue, need more trust, just working together collaboratively. Because I cannot believe for 1 second that anyone working in council, running a local authority, doesn't have an idea of where to begin cutting and genuinely needs, and look, there will be cases where they do need to have a deep dive, a proper audit, but you cannot tell me they go into that process without the foggiest idea of where money might be wasted. I mean, and if they are in that position where they have not the foggiest idea, they shouldn't have a job. They shouldn't be running a local authority. It's really frustrating to read this kind of stuff. I mean, when I read this yesterday, I was like, line me up. I can do it for 2 million quid, and I can guarantee you right now, I'll come up with some really, really good ideas. It will save you 18 million quid. And I'm being facetious there, obviously, but still, it's absolutely crazy. And this is why I kind of want to bring this back to personal finance, okay? We've spoken a lot about the fact that we've got an autumn budget coming in November. We know in that budget that we are likely going to see tax rises. And that means one thing for you. That means that your take-home pay is probably going to take a hit. Your disposable income is going to take a hit. And we're living in a reality now where energy prices are going up, food prices are going up. You may be coming off a low mortgage rate into what are higher rates now. So therefore, you're going to be paying for the mortgage, which means that your disposable income is going to take a hit. It is very, very important that you pay attention to the small things. And when I say the small things, it's the things that we don't think about proactively every day. Financial management, financial control. In a world where we can tap, it is so easy to just go through the day spending money, not really paying attention to it, where now we need to pay attention to where we're spending the money. We need to have a detailed overview of where the pounds and the pence are going. And that might sound arduous. That might sound like a really boring task. You haven't got time to do it. I get it. 100% I do. But you have to get a grip on that. If you're struggling with debt, you've got credit card debt or personal loans, and it's really beginning to bog you down, it's becoming a monthly pain that is hard for you to deal with. Look, I was in debt for 15 years. I understand and appreciate how scary it is to look that down the barrel. Like, you start to question yourself, blame yourself. How did I get here? But thinking that way isn't going to help you. The way I managed to take ownership of it, and where I felt really empowered, was by finally getting the courage to be like, listen, I need to sort this and I'm going to look at it. And looking at it made me make sense of the challenge ahead and what I needed to do. And just like I helped the woman with the credit card consolidation, yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's a difficult conversation, but there are solutions out there. And sometimes you just need a little bit of help to guide you to get there. The reason why this is all important is because of this. The budget, food price increases, your mortgages going up, energy prices going up. These are all external factors. The more control you can have on internal factors of your finances. What I mean by that is the things that you can control. So your spending, the decisions you make around consolidating or getting rid of your debt, those decisions give you control. And the more control you have, external factors will have less control over you. It's a really important point. So please take some time, if you're struggling with your finances, to really sit down and think about what you need to do. If you need help, and I don't often do this on videos, you can book me. I can sit down with you. I can talk you through all of your options. I will deliver you a pack which will have all of your action points, what you need to do, your plan to help you. And with my coaching, it isn't a one-off session. You go off, you're dealing with it on your own. But every single client of mine, you can reach me on email, you can reach me on WhatsApp. And it doesn't matter whether it's a week, 6 months, or 9 months after the coaching call. I'm in touch with every single person who I've coached in one way, shape, or form, through WhatsApp, through conversations. Because it's not just about the immediate decision that you make in that moment, it is about ongoing support. And oftentimes that's where people really, really fail. They have a fix, but they don't necessarily address the habit that got them in that place in the first place. And that could just be an addiction to, like, tap, 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 Costa. So accountability and support is very, very important. I'm building the community offline elsewhere now soon. I'll talk about that a bit later on. But if you need help, I will post a link in the description and pinned in the comments for you to reach out to me. It will take you to my landing page, which will give you a full rundown of what the process looks like. And look, it's not for everyone, because I appreciate not everyone can afford to pay for coaching, which is why I make free content where you can pick up little bits and pieces. But where you need some, like, proper input, the best way of doing that is working with someone like myself one-on-one. So if you need it, it is there. Let me know what you think of this in the comment section down below, because, like I said, I saw these yesterday. I sat up and I was annoyed. My head wanted to pop off my shoulders, if I'm completely honest with you, because it's outrageous. But this is the world that we live in, and we can't control any of that stuff, but we can control our own factors that prevent us from being financially secure. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Cheers.